Welcome back to Champions of Resilience podcast. I'm host Amy Gamble. Tonight, I'm joined by two amazing women, Dusty Matthews and Natalie Perry, lifelong friends who met in college and have supported each other through marriages, motherhood, careers, and everything life has thrown their way. Their story is a beautiful reminder of how friendship builds resilience. We're going to talk about life, growth, and the strength that comes from having someone walk beside you through the years. So, ladies, let's just jump right in.
You're going to make me cry.
I know. I'm like carrying back tears here. I'm like, shit, we haven't even started.
Tears are good. I'm a life coach. Tears are good. That's a positive thing, right? So, take me back to the time that you guys met back in your college days and tell me what that was like and how you ended up being able to maintain this friendship for well over 20 years now.
28 years.
28 years. Okay.
28 years.
You guys are older than I thought, right?
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's just jump in with each other. Yep.
Yeah. So we met in 1998, Bob Evans in Morgantown. So I was a student at WVU and Dusty was a student at Fairmont State. It's so funny because
I was trying to figure out my life.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. And I had started at Fairmont and Dusty had started at WVU. So we kind of flip flopped, which was funny. But the first time I met her, I needed a shift covered for work. And someone's like, well, Dusty will cover it. So I went up and I was like, who's Dusty? So I'm thinking it's this guy and it's Dusty. And I go over and she covered my shift. But then we ended up working Sunday mornings and the same shifts. And we just grew a friendship from there. I'll let you add.
Yeah, I think at the time, whenever I was working at Bob Evans, I had quit school. So I was taking a break in between WVU and then I had went and moved to Fairmont State. And I didn't know what I wanted to do with myself at all in any way, shape, or form whatsoever. So I was working a lot of day shifts and I was working with other people who this was their career, was waiting tables. And so I I think the night shift would come in and it was all college kids. And so, I mean, I was, what were you, 19, 20 at the time, something like that.
We're like 19.
And then I realized, oh, my peers are working a different shift because they're all in school. And the people who I'm working with were in very different places in our life. So then that kind of motivated me to get back into school, to kind of be around, my own peer group and realize that I didn't want to still be waiting tables, after however many years. So then, yeah, met Natalie and then we ran that place.
We did run that place and we would wait tables on Sunday mornings. And literally this one time we got a charter bus full of hockey players and we had half of the entire restaurant and we're like, we got this, we got it. And we had a party of 80 or something ridiculous.
Yeah. They were like, do you need help? We're like, yep.
You leave us alone.
Leave us alone. Get out of our way. We'll take care of it. And so, I mean, and then, we realized we liked a lot of the same things. I mean, kind of the natural way that a friendship start in college. And so we just struck up a friendship. And then, yeah, pretty soon thereafter, I was sleeping over at her apartment.
Yeah. And I was sleeping over at Mama's house, piled on the floor, on the living room floor.
Yeah.
And it just started from there.
Yeah. So when you think about that time and, you bring up an interesting point because some people do waiting tables for a temporary job and other people, that's like their careers and everything.
Absolutely.
So when you go to a restaurant now, do you have that sort of ingrained perspective about being able to relate to the person who's serving your table?
Yeah, 100%. Like
Absolutely.
I respect the hustle of the job. It's not easy. It's not easy dealing with the public every single day. And so I know it's extremely, extremely difficult. And just because I didn't choose it for myself doesn't mean it isn't the right choice for somebody else. And so I'm really super appreciative of all restaurant hospitality, workers. And then I tip out the wazoo. Even
Yeah.
if I get bad service or even if something bad happens, I'm still tipping because you never know what's happening in the kitchen or what your server is going through that day. So
Yeah.
I over tip and yeah.
Yeah.
I had a
I-
stint as a Domino's pizza delivery driver when I was 19, and ever since then, I have always overtipped my drivers.
Oh yeah.
I remember when I was still teaching, I would tell my students, no matter what you do in life, you need to at least once work in a restaurant and number
Mhm.
two, work retail. Because when you do that, you understand the amount of effort and work and what you put up with working with the public. I mean, let's face it, it's not easy. You're on your feet all day. And I said, get those two jobs in because you're going to have a greater appreciation for
Yeah.
any person in life working in retail and in a restaurant environment. And yeah, we also tip good too because
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know how hard it is and you know it's day in and day out.
Yeah,
you-
and I also recognize that I had the privilege of a choice to go back to college. I mean, that isn't afforded to everybody as well. So it's never lost on me how hard that industry is and that some people aren't in the same position as others. And so, yeah, I was able to make a choice and do something different. Glad I did, but I'm glad I was there because I met Natalie waiting tables.
Likewise.
That's awesome. So speaking of this 20 plus year relationship, how have you been able to make it work? Because you're living in Houston, right, Dusty?
Yeah.
In Houston, and you have your husband is in Houston with you and your daughter, and then Natalie, you're here locally in the Wheeling, West Virginia area
Yep.
with your main squeeze, Jeff, and your kids. So
And the
how have you been
furry
able,
and feathered kids.
and your furry and feather friends. How have you been able to keep that connection going over 20 years?
I think we talk a lot and
We talk almost every day.
yeah, and it's real, it's not surface level discussions. I mean, it's real stuff. What's happening in your life and how can I help you? And when I have a bad day, what do? I pick up the phone and I'm like, Natalie, listen, this is what I had to go through. So it's always the person that I can depend on to listen. And so I think that's a big part of it is hearing the other person and not trying to jump in and solve any of the problems. So I know I can call Nat and then just kind of complain about my day or whatever happens and she'll be there for me. So thank goodness the technology or else I would be collect calling her and be like, Natalie, I'm okay. Don't pick up the phone. Bye. And then hang up.
That's too
I
funny.
I think
Yeah.
it's funny. We talked about this a couple days ago, and we said that we have a genuine friendship where we have never been jealous of each other,
No.
have never envied or tried to put on this facade. We are real almost to a fault. We are so much alike in so many ways. And I think that our friendship strengthened through college because of the adversity that we faced in our own personal lives and struggles. And we're trying to navigate our 20s and we're dealing with all this stuff. And we just leaned on each other and got each other through that. And then as things progressed through children, we were both there for our marriages. Well, my first marriage, but we were there for each other and the births of our kids. And but even at the lowest lows, we've
Yeah,
all
so
been there.
that's what reminds me of this. What I wanted to ask you is when were at your hardest moment, how did the friendship swoop in and help you? In what ways did it help you? And how do you feel that contributed to some of the resilience that you have individually and as friends?
I knew that no matter what was going on in my life, no matter how bad it might have been or how good it might have been, I could pick up the phone and call Dusty and say, I need you. I need your help. And she would be there literally out the door
Yeah.
immediately, no matter what. Do you want me to fly here? Do you want me to do this? Do you want me to drive? I'm in my car.
Yeah.
And likewise, good and bad and all the in between. And I think that knowing no matter how far away we are from each other or how close we are to each other, that I know that she is a phone call away or a text away. and to drive away if needed, and that she will always have my back through thick and thin. And that allows me to, sometimes have to navigate rough waters, but knowing she'll be there as my co-pilot.
Yeah, and it's even if you have to navigate those rough waters on your own and you're going through something very personal, we'll be waiting on the other side. I'll be championing you, but then I'll be there whenever you get done doing what you need to do. I'm not going anywhere. I feel like almost we're kind of like lighthouses for each other.
I like that.
That I'm going to start crying. That it's just like, you're dependable. And like through all of the chaos that has happened with everything, I think one of the other things that's been really great is just like our ability to maintain a sense of humor about life.
Yes.
We have running jokes, like 20-year-old jokes about really terrible things that have happened. And Natalie, you know what I'm talking about?
I do.
But like that, even if it's something bad, like, I'm going to be there for you, but then we can also like laugh about it after we come out at the other end. And we haven't always lived. I mean, there were periods like in college still where, you were in Arizona and I was in Tennessee. And so, yeah, I remember whenever you were, coming back from Arizona and you were like, I'm coming to your house. And I was like, done.
And I drove to Johnson City, and I
Just come stay with me. Do whatever you need to do. So I think our doors are always open to each other, like no matter what, no judgment, no nothing. And I think we still have the ability to say the hard things to each other too. Sometimes it'll be like, well, this may sound mean or this may sound harsh, but I'm still going to give it to you because, like it's a completely honest friendship.
But do you feel like
sorry.
you feel like this direct sort of communication that you have with each other, does that carry over into other relationships that you have with other people? It's almost like you practice on each other and then you go use it with other people. Does that really work, or is it that this bond is so connected and special that there are things that you can quote unquote get away with here that you can't get away with in other places?
I say absolutely. This
Yeah.
bond is different than just a friendship or, just an acquaintance or whatnot, or even family. We have such a bond that we can be our complete selves around each other, no hold bars. But of course, we would restrain that and kind of adjust that based on whatever situation we're in, especially a work environment or when you're around younger people or whatnot. But together, we know that it's always a safe place, the two of us. It's always a safe place. It's a safe place to vent. It's a safe place for everything.
Yeah. And it's built on trust. I think you have to have a level of trust to be able to be, I wouldn't say what they call it, radical candor or brutally honest or whatever. I don't want to say things to hurt people's feelings, but I think also I can trust that Natalie's going to not think I'm an asshole after I say something. I can be honest and not have to worry about
a reaction.
Yeah. Yeah. There may be a reaction and that's cool. And I think we care about each other so deeply that you want to tell the other person the truth. You really want to I don't want to see you mess up, or I don't want you tell me where you think I'm screwing up. You have to be honest with me, because how many other people in our lives do you have that ability to do? To your point, Amy, probably my husband and my daughter and maybe my dad. But oftentimes I hold back a bit because people don't want to face some stuff that's going on in their lives. And so,
Well, it's clear that you have this really special relationship. I've always been impressed and a little in awe of it too. And one of the things that I really appreciate is this sort of sense of humor that you bring out in each other. And so when I think about a resilience toolbox, and I mean, knowing a little bit about you, Dusty, and a lot about you, Natalie, I know that I'll throw myself in there. We've all had some really tough times. So I would just ask you, when you dip into that resilience toolbox, think back what were you reaching in to get? What was something that anchored you in that moment and this is an individual question for each one of
Mm.
you. What did you reach in for first?
For me, definitely humor. That's always where I go. And it's kind of, if you don't laugh, you'll cry, one of those things. So I think humor helps me get through a lot of things, and the ability to, I mean, not make fun of it in a way, whatever the situation is, but help to ease some of the tension around a situation. Humor for sure has been something that maybe even to a fault. I mean, I do take life seriously, but it's even okay to have fun and laugh when hard things are happening. And so that's a hard thing to remember, I think, sometimes.
Mhm. It's actually a
Yeah.
great trait of resilience, to tell you the truth. It's and if I always think back of some of the things that my mom always used to say, which is laughter is the best medicine,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Because my mother was similar in that, I mean, it could be something horrible or crisis situation could have happened, and then somewhere along the way, we're all in the room and we're laughing about something.
Yeah.
Maybe nothing, right? But we're laughing, and that laughter is helping us get through.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
What about you, Natalie?
I immediately go to humor as well, and I even say dark humor, and sometimes humor, sometimes to a fault as well. But and again, I was going to reference mom and say, mom always says you got to laugh, you got to
Mhm.
laugh, because if you just hold on to that and just harbor anger and stuff it, it's going to affect your health. It's going to affect your mental health. It's going to affect everyone around you. So if you laugh it off, of course, there's the seriousness of whatever it might have been, whatever situation throughout the years. However, if you just kind of throw a little spin on it for the moment, throw some laughter in there, it makes it a lot easier to absorb, even in the moment, even when you have to face it head on, when it's not funny, you still can know that you can laugh about it and it'll be okay.
Yeah. Another thing that pops into my mind is the whole idea of vulnerability and the whole when we ask for help, when you pick up the phone to dial one another, you're just putting your big V on your chest, the vulnerability part of it. And so just curious, how does that make you feel to be vulnerable, and how would you suggest that somebody who's not as accustomed to reaching out and asking for help, how can they make that first phone call to a friend?
I think, I mean, for us, it's different because like I said, we've been friends for 28 years and we know each other in and out, up and down, everything. But for me, asking for help was always difficult. I think it's a trait of my family and my genetics, but it was very difficult to ask for help because when you ask for help, for me, I interpret it as I failed at something. Now I have to ask someone for help, or I should be able to handle this on my own. Why do I need to ask for help? But as I get older and now approaching 50, I realize that there's limitations to what we can do. And there's some things that not everyone, albeit they might struggle through it, but you're not fully capable of handling everything. And you have to ask for help. I think the hardest time to ask for help when it comes to Dusty was probably when I was just struggling in college or lost some family members. I lost a boyfriend to suicide when I was in college. But going through that and trying to seek out and ask for help from Dusty, I knew that she would not judge me. Even if I was vulnerable, she would give me a hug and tell me everything was going to be okay and that she loved me and that she supported me and that she was my beacon of light. She'd mentioned a lighthouse earlier, but she was my beacon of light. So, albeit I might have felt vulnerable, I might have been a low, low, a mid in between, a high, high, but I always would put myself out there for her because I knew she was genuine. I trusted her. She was always there for me, and that she would pick me up or cheer me on or cheer with me no matter what.
I
Yeah,
wish
and
I wish everyone could have a friend like you guys.
I
You guys
know.
have in each
we're not
other.
Lucky.
accepting new
I wish.
applications, like
Are you
just
guys
for
for
you,
sale?
Amy.
Rent a friend.
Yes, just for you though. That's it.
Only
Okay.
Amy.
Only
Yeah.
Amy.
And I think kind of me being on the other side, because I think just about myself, I don't tend to have issues with asking for help. I'm quite okay with doing it. And so kind of being on the other side of watching people not ask for help and
Oh,
being the helper type of, no, I'm not saying that I've never needed help, right? Like that's not true. But and Nat was talking about everything she was going through, and she wouldn't ask for help, right? But I knew her well enough to know that there's something wrong. So then I would go chase down her family members looking like, what's going on? You have to tell me. And then I have family members who struggle with asking for help. And I know it does show a real level of vulnerability, especially when we all should be able to take care of ourselves and do everything by ourselves. We're not able to do that. You need a community of people around you. But I think maybe the thing that I would people to know is that it's not a sign of weakness to ask for help. If you have a trusted person that you can go to, and it could come in many different forms, but I wish that some people would ask me for help. Like, I beg them to help me or for me to help. Like, will you please just let me help you? Please. Like, I know that you can do this on your own. I know once you get back on your feet, everything will be okay, but I'm in a position to help and I really want to do that. And so, yeah, it's for me like that. And I don't have trouble asking for Natalie for help at anything. I mean, you can see we're completely comfortable with each other. Yeah, and I know when I call and ask her a question, she's not gonna make me feel stupid. Like, I think that's the thing too, is that you don't wanna like, maybe in the workplace, you don't wanna ask for help because you think someone's gonna think, "Oh, Dusty's not got it together, and she doesn't know what she's doing, and if she says something, everyone's gonna know." And it is a fear that I faced in the workplace as well, like, "Oh, if I come off mute and ask this question, everyone's gonna think that I shouldn't be in the room with
Yeah.
them."
I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but then I have to remind myself, like,
right.
I'm in this room for a reason. Someone put me here, and I should have the ability to open my mouth, even though it's hard. Like, so I feel more areas of vulnerability probably at work than I do
Mm, mhm,
in my personal life.
mhm. I think that's consistent with most people. I think for the most part
Like, that makes me feel like I'm not alone then, good.
Well, I wasn't really vulnerable in corporate America to ask questions and whatnot. Like I literally would ask anyone, it's my mother and me. I literally would ask anyone any question, no matter how many levels above me or below me they were, and I would talk to them the same as
Yes. See,
anyone.
I'm the complete opposite.
Mm, mm,
I don't
interesting.
know.
Well, one of my go-to secrets, since I'm not in corporate America anymore, I could say, is that oftentimes I would ask the questions that I already knew the answer to, just because I knew there
Mm,
were people in the room who didn't know the
yeah.
answer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And so that was kind of my
yeah,
role, and
yeah.
they were, I would say they were difficult questions a lot of times.
And but you were able to recognize folks
Yes.
that might have been vulnerable. You were able to pick up on that and do something that isn't calling anyone out, drawing attention, but you could
Right.
help others without them having to be vulnerable.
Exactly.
And I think perception, having the ability to read people also helps because you can use leading questions to get them to maybe ask for something or kind of make sure that they understand that you're trustworthy, that you're a trusted person, that you're a safe space by watching how you're engaging with them, the words you're using. I think that's a gift as well to be able to read people.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, I wish I had Amy sitting beside me at work every day.
She is
Aw, thank
not for
you.
sale. You may
I
rent
I
her
will send
briefly,
you that check in the mail
Okay.
when we're done.
right?
Yeah. So I've been doing a lot of work on resilience, whether it's been writing about it, whether it's been talking about it, and so forth. And so I'm just curious, I'd like to know your opinion on what you guys think resilience is, and how do you get it, and how do you lose it, and how do you get it back?
There's a lot of questions.
Yeah. So let's just start with, what do you think it is? What's resilience?
The ability to realize that the sun comes out tomorrow and tomorrow is a new day and looking at your simplest tasks that you achieved each day, as simple as brushing your teeth, making your bed, taking a shower. You did something that day, and the next day is going to be better and you're going to bounce back.
The ability to get knocked down, right? And stay down when you know you need to stay down, take your rest, but then however long that takes, but then the ability to get back up and then just let her rip again. I think just going back at it, and maybe you change the direction that you go at. Maybe you change your job or you change something big about your life, but the ability to get back up again after getting knocked off of whatever shows a lot of resilience.
And I think it's difficult. You're saying when someone gets knocked out, it depends on the resiliency, depends on the moment. It depends on the person. It depends on their mental state at the time, what they're going through. Do they have support? So many variables
Yeah.
that come into play. And if someone is already struggling, their resiliency might take some time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's not an immediate thing. You're
know.
not going to get back up and start going again, but hopefully we've learned every time we've got knocked down and you grow in some way. So I think that's part of resilience as well. If I fell down and got up and started doing it the same exact way, then yeah, I'm resilient the way that I was able to stand up again. But am I resilient in the way that I'm able to move forward is a different story, I think.
I have this visual that came to my mind when you said that. You get knocked down. I'm seeing a person or myself just literally on my knees, and my knees are all bloody. And yet I'm looking up at the sky through my faith. And I'm telling myself in that moment, I'm down, but I'm saying, been here before and got back up.
And I think with
Reason I can't get up again, right?
Yeah.
it's harder for younger people to bounce back as quickly. In my honest opinion, as a former educator and as a parent of a almost 21-year-old, everyone's like, kids are resilient, kids are resilient. And albeit kids are resilient, but it is tough for them to bounce back from trauma. Look at the kids during the pandemic, trying to bounce back from that, to look for that resiliency. And the world is heavy. Things are heavy for kids nowadays. And it's tough. It's really tough. And I think resiliency, we see it and we see our youth, and I see my son and his growth and his resiliency over the years. But I feel that oftentimes our young people struggle the most with resiliency in the current world we're living in.
Yeah, since you brought this up, 5 years ago, we were really in the crust of the pandemic. We were full force into that. Do you feel we just sort of brushed that under the rug and moved on?
Absolutely.
What do you think, Dusty?
Have we brushed the whole pandemic? It's like it didn't exist.
Yes, this collective traumatic event is how I would coin it. A collective traumatic event that disrupted everyone's life in some way or another, some more than others, more drastically.
Yeah.
Particularly for young people. Have we just sort of put it under the rug?
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of look back at it now and you're like, "Oh, yeah, that was COVID." It's not the realization of what everyone was going through. I feel a bit removed from it now, 5 years later. That's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, yeah, I can remember what we went through." And, thankfully, we didn't suffer greatly. But it is, yeah, I mean, I feel removed, and Natalie's kiddo was in a different place in school than mine was, so it was a whole hell of a lot easier for mine to be able to stay home because they weren't at the point where, she was developing, like really needed a friend group. Like, I mean, she did, right? Like, we all need friends, but it wasn't as a critical point in her kind of social development as it was for Natalie. So I think Natalie was going through something a lot different than I was experiencing during COVID. I was kind of like, yeah, I'll just stay in my house. Like, I don't really like people anyway, so this is kind of cool. Like, I don't have to go out and
Yeah.
do anything.
Yeah.
And I was working from home, so that wasn't any different for me either. And it was
Yeah.
no big deal.
I did pivot to working from home, packed up because we had went on spring break. So my last day in the office, and then I packed up all my stuff. Like, do I have everything I need? Yeah, I'll be back in a week, whatever. And then luckily I had everything with me that I needed, because then we didn't go back. And then all of a sudden, what does that take to change our behaviors? And now, what does it take to change the behaviors to go back into doing things in person? And I know I specifically experienced that because we've been home for 2 years, basically. And my husband was to the point that he was like, Dusty, like, we have to go to a restaurant and eat. Like, we have to start doing things outside of this house again. And he was getting stir crazy a bit, obviously, after 2 years. But I was like, I'm fine. Like, say, wow, I'm cool. Like, I don't really need too much interaction. So I had to be like forced to go back and start doing things again.
Yeah, I measure it by the level of disruption. So, like, my own personal disruption was sort of on this trajectory of national speaking. I had all these speaking engagements out in LA at these schools and teaching, becoming a national mental health first aid instructor. And then with one email, like
Yeah.
two
Yeah.
emails,
Yeah.
gone. And
Yeah.
so losing that kind of momentum and
Yeah.
just sort of being devastated by that. And of
Of
course,
course.
as an adult, it is a lot easier to remake yourself and pick yourself back up and move on than as a young person who doesn't have maybe as many options to choose from.
Sure. I mean, it was a major disruption in our life. My son was in his freshman year of high school. He was 2 weeks away from the spring musical opening, and he was very active in musical theater and music and band and orchestra. And all of a sudden, you're at
Yeah.
home
Full stop.
and it's full stop. And
Yeah.
try having vocal classes on virtual, on Zoom or whatever, playing instruments or being in there to be able to play off of each other, because theater and the arts in general, you really are playing off the energy in the room. And there's that part of it. Then there's the aspect of being home for entire sophomore year and losing out on the math really needed for SAT and ACT prep. So just a lot of impacts that it was really rough. It was rough to navigate. I'll definitely say that. But we made it. We made it.
So what are the elements we've talked a lot about, some components of resilience that you guys have had? And if you're talking to your kids, what do you tell them? What tips do you give them?
I always, one of the big things I always say is you don't ever look at anything as a failure, no matter what happens in your life. Even if you're at your lowest low, your highest high, if you're rock bottom, whatever it is, you made a mistake, you feel like you messed up, it's the end of the world. It's not, because in order to grow, we have to fail. And you look at every moment of failure as just another rock climbing that mountain. It's just a hurdle. You're going to get back up. You're going to reflect on it and you're going to grow. And it's okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think what we've been going through and talking to my daughter about a lot is you're in control of your own life. You have the ability to make decisions that are the best for you at the time, and you don't need to worry what anyone else thinks about those decisions.
Absolutely.
And yeah. And so even if it's small things about, well, my friends want to go here and I don't really want to go. And I'm like, well, tell them no. So I think my daughter worries a lot about feelings and hurting people and hurting people's feelings and all of that. And I'm like, it's okay. It's okay to stand up for yourself. It's okay to say no. No is a complete sentence. You don't owe anyone an explanation. If that's your feeling, then you do what you want to do. And so that's what we've been preaching a lot, is you do what you want to do. Like,
And
yeah.
well, I think too, parenting a son versus parenting a daughter, there's so many different layers to that as well, because girls tend to have more emotional response, whereas Isaac, dude, I'm not going. I'm like, I'm not going. Whatever, have fun. It's funny you mentioned that too, Amy, because I was talking to Dusty's daughter the other day when we were FaceTiming. And I know that Dusty and her husband recently had, talks too with her because she's applying for college, doing college visits. One, I just wrote her letter of recommendation for her scholarships. But I just wanted to reinforce to her what Dusty and her dad had already told her. And it's, Scout, if you make a mistake, if you start out at school and you absolutely hate it and you move home and you switch and you go to community college or you decide to take a year off, that's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. We put such an immense amount of pressure on our youth in this country when they're graduating high school. We expect, okay, you're 18, you're out the door, you're on your own, you're an adult, have fun. And it's not
Or
realistic.
or
Find what you
entire
wanna do.
life
Pick your major,
immediately
and
right
that's
now.
it. And you're locked in.
Yeah.
And that's your major, and you're locked in. And we, as a country, it's unfortunate that this happens. I think more people need to realize that no one's in a flippin' race here. Everyone, Dusty said, you're in charge of you. You're in charge of your destiny. And no matter whatever choice you make in that moment, do that choice for you, not what anyone else says, not what anyone else is doing, because who cares? Who
Yeah.
cares? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
And we're all going to mess up and we're all going to make wrong choices. I mean, it happens. It's just part of life. But again, to the resilience part is that if you have this support system, which I recognize that not everybody does, but if you mess up and you make a wrong choice, guess what happens? What's the worst thing that can happen? You come home.
Yep.
That's it. What's the worst thing that can happen? I call Natalie on the phone and we figure it out. To be able to kind of navigate through those choices that you make as a young person and learn that resilience at a young age, I think is critical to being able to really go through the stuff when it gets really hard as an older person.
So
And
take it back. You guys are in your 20s. It's a tumultuous time.
I was like,
know,
right
'cause I
now
have
we're in our
insider
20s.
information. So take me back. What would each of you tell your 20-year-old self?
Wow, that's a tough one.
Ugh. I would say to my 20-year-old self to trust my instincts more, that you had it right. You knew what you were doing and you should have believed in yourself and trusted your gut a hell of a lot more than what you did. Stayed in some situations I shouldn't have stayed in longer because you just didn't know what to do. You didn't feel like it was the right thing to do, even though I always knew I could go home. That was always an option for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I should have trusted my gut instinct. Like have a pretty good gut instinct about things and I've learned to grow into that and make decisions based on that with minimal information. But I think whenever I was younger, I waited too long to make decisions that could have impacted my life differently. I'm glad I have the life that I have. I'm thankful for everything that I have, but yeah, I would trust yourself because like when your spidey senses go off, like
Mhm.
we need to learn how to feel that stuff and
yeah.
then trust it.
Love
Yeah.
that. What about you, Natalie?
I think I would say to my 20-year-old self, girl, the road ahead's going to be rocky, but you're going to be okay. 'Cause I think of grandma, and grandma always say, you're going to be okay. It's going to be okay. But I would say the road ahead's going to be rocky, but you're going to be okay.
I like that. That's awesome. Okay, so the last question, it's an easy one. When I think about you guys and your friendship moving forward, and I think, all right, the next 20 years of friendship, what's that going to look like?
Oh, hell, you ever heard that?
We've already got
Oh,
a plan.
we already have a plan.
plan.
We already have a brand. We already have a logo.
We
we're gonna
already have a
LLC.
brand and a logo. We've worked it all out.
Everything. Isaac's designing our logo. We have the whole 9 yards. We have a game plan. We're good.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah, it's to continue, hopefully and we live closer together. Yeah, that's one
Yes.
of the ultimate goals is
More travel.
yeah, I called her recently and I said, "What are you doing March 9th through 15th of 2026?" And she was like, "What? Like, I don't know. What do you want to do?" And I was like, "Well, there's an artist that we like who's kicking off their European tour." And I said, "Most likely my husband will be out of town. And my daughter is going to be on spring break and traveling with her school. So do you want to go to Belgium? And then she was like, yep. Immediately, I think the next day, we both bought plane tickets. Like,
Literally, yeah.
I'll
That's
meet you in
awesome.
Belgium.
Literally one-way plane tickets. One-way plane
Yeah,
tickets.
because we don't know
London.
which
'Cause
country
we
we're
don't
going to
know
fly
where-
home from.
Yeah. We don't know where we're going yet. We don't know. I mean, it's just like
That's
it's just
awesome.
like what, like a year and a half ago, we were sitting in a Vegas pool and you're like, "Hey Natalie, I gotta go to India for work. You want to go?" I'm like, "Yeah, why not? I want to go to all the continents. Went to India."
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We want to continue our adventures and obviously as we get older have more and more of those. You know, we're talking about a road trip in West Virginia, renting an RV and just going to all the counties and places we haven't been to before and all the hollers in Appalachia and just raising hell.
That's awesome. Well, ladies, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. And for those listening, thanks for joining this powerful conversation with Dusty and Natalie. Their honesty, wisdom, long-standing friendship really remind us that resilience isn't something we build alone. It's shaped through the people who walk with us, encourage us, and help us grow. So if today's episode resonated with you, I invite you to follow the Champions of Resilience podcast and share it with someone who might need a little encouragement. For free resources, coaching support, and upcoming episodes, visit championsofresilience.com. My name is Amy Gamble, Olympian, life coach, and writer, and you guys have a great day.